actually this one, right? So let's say this is my code. And how it looks like here in the editor. So what I can do here, I can say put 2 forward slashes, say creating 2 variables. Okay. Now it's not a big deal because you understand that looking at the code, say there are 2 variables created. It's not essential, but it illustrates the concept. And then saying printing out statements browser window. Now these statements which are prepended with the for 2 forward slashes will be in the code, but when it comes to execute JavaScript, browser will completely ignore these statements. Okay, essentially these are only for human being, but computer will completely ignore them, so it's good to have. If you like to comment this code, for example, you don't like to print, for example, first JavaScript for some reason, you can comment that line as well. Okay, and then just putting 2 forward slashes, and then this line will not be there. Okay, or if you like to comment the whole document, the whole JavaScript, you can do that as well. These 2 forward slashes are called single line comments. They allow to comment only 1 line at a time. So basically, this comment is valid for this line only. Next line, it's gone. So, but if you like to comment the several lines at the same time, for example, I like to comment these 4 lines of code, okay, but I don't like to delete them, I just like to comment. What I can do, I can just put star forward slash star, and essentially these 4 lines will be commented. Star forward slash star, it's called multiline comment, and that's an example of that. This is very useful when you like to keep going. You like to use this script as additional statement, but you don't like to delete the old ones. Okay, just like to keep them for reference. So you can do whatever you like to, and then if I, for example, save this save as in my, let's see, just a second, JavaScript should test. Yeah, I'll fix that. HTML, definitely I have to fix that, and all files save. Okay, so I have to fix the double quotes, otherwise my page will be broken, right? So this one here, this one, somewhere here, yeah, this one. Okay, so I save this guy. If I run this, if I open this page, nothing would happen because all JavaScript is essentially effectively commented. That's this one. So you see that page is empty. Oh, okay, I can allow the content, but the content is empty. Okay, so nothing is shown because all JavaScript is effectively commented. I commented everything, but if I uncomment this one, for example, showing these 4 lines of code here. Let's do that. Everything is okay. I close body. Yeah, that's correct. So let's go and refresh this guy. You see that statements appear. Statements which were in JavaScript code appear. Though I had some additional information here, like for example, creating 2 variables here, right? And I have this printing our statements in browser window. But you don't see these statements here in a browser. They are invisible, correct? Because these are only for human being, and this is essentially for commenting out some information. Okay? You can comment out the code. You can comment out whatever you like to. Okay? As soon as you have these 2 forward slashes or forward slash star, information will be invisible. Okay? But the information will be present here in the file. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So no questions. Let's move forward. Okay. These are example of multi-line comments. There is no need to go and saw that because we've already seen the example of that. The next lesson, lesson which we learned so far, is that JavaScript allows us storing of information in variables, and JavaScript supports variables, and the values which are stored in the variables are available any moment of time as soon as JavaScript is up and running. Okay, so you can concatenate variables together, you can add two strings together, you can add two numbers together and do anything you like, any mathematical operations. Let's go to the next lesson, unless there are questions. Okay. So next we are going to cover operators, which might be difficult to comprehend for some of you. Okay, they may look like a differential equations, but they are not. This is basically the programming language. I'm going to explain that. Maybe it will be difficult to comprehend from the first time. Now you may actually go and digest at home, come to the next class and ask questions. That's okay. This essentially illustrates what you are going to face if you actually volunteer to test QA JavaScript code. Okay, if you go to the company and say I can do that, that's what you are going to face. Okay, this is addition. What it means here, how you need to read this line. This is not a graphic, equation. Formula for graphic, whatever. It means the following: we have variable x, and the variable x value is calculated based on the value of variable y incremented by 2. So essentially, you grab variable 2, whatever value it contains, add 2 to that value, and then assign the resulting to the variable x. Okay. Similarly, subtraction, multiplication. Here, what you have, you see, you have x on both sides, and you intuitively say, you know what, let's eliminate them. Okay, but that's not, again, that's not equation, that's not algebra. This is essentially programming. In programming, it means the following. Whatever when variable stands on the right side of the equation, in this case x stands on the right side, this x I mean, not this one, this one. It means that we are using its current value, whatever current value x has. We take the current value of x, multiply by 2, multiply by current value of variable y, and we get some number, right? And then we assign that value to the x again. So kicking out the old one and assigning new one. Okay? So it means that the new value of x is calculated based on the value of y multiplied by 2 multiplied by existing value of x. Okay? So that's how you should read it. That's how it is written. And they don't use, this is a shortcut form. They never use the long form. Okay? They never split this statement into several others. Okay? You always see this shortcut. Same with the division. We also have modulus operator, which calculates the remainder of a division. For example, in this case, if variable y equals 10, we'll get 0, because 10 is divisible, by 2. Okay? But if we have 11, we'll get 1, because that's a remainder. Okay. So we have our with operator, which consists of two symbols, and this operator is plus plus operator. And similarly, we have minus minus. What this operator does, it increments the value by 1. Okay, essentially, whenever you see plus plus, it means that we adding one number, digit 1 to this variable. This operation, incrementing by 1, is so popular in programming, and it happens all the time. So that's why they created this special operator. Okay, plus plus. Nothing behind that. Okay, so it's basically addition, incrementing value. So, and then depending where you put it, for example, in this case, I placed a plus plus operator in front of y, and in this case, I put it behind y, you get the different results. Okay, so we are going to cover that. They will increment the value anyway. But this is, again, remember this is not two operations. This is basically one operation incrementing by 1. It's simply that operator consists of two symbols. That's it. Okay. But operator is 1. It's called plus plus, and it consists of two symbols. Same, we have the decrement operator, which is minus minus. Again, operator is one operator, which consists of two symbols, minus minus, two dashes. Okay, no space between them. If you put space, that would be an error, because that's one operator. Okay, it's inseparable. If we have y equals 5, for example, and if I issue command plus plus, y will be incremented to 6, okay? Regardless where I put it, in the front or at the end, okay? But let's look at the function, I mean, at the statement as it's there, written in a slide, on a slide. I have this following statement. I have, say, x equals plus plus y, okay? And also I have another statement which says x equals y plus plus, okay? Now, on these lines, two lines, I have two operations at the same happening at the same line. I have assignment operations, because this is assignment. This is operation of assignment. And also I have increment operation. There are two operations which happens on the same line, okay? Now, the result will depend which operation happens first. It's basically a question of precedence, right? So if, for example, I start with a y equals 5 here in this case, and let's look at this example, the very first case, right? I have plus plus operator placed in front of y. So what happens is that y will be incremented first. So increment operation happens first. Assignment will happen next. So y will be incremented by 1. So new value of y will be 6. And then we'll assign to x. X will be 6. Okay? In this case, I can say x will be 6. Okay? And y will be also equal 6. Okay? No problem. In this case, since I placed this increment operator after the variable, it means that the assignment operation will take precedence. So it means that assignment will happen first. So what it means that the current value of y is 5, correct? Before assignment. We don't have this one, okay? So we have 5 here. So when we make an assignment, x will be equal to 5. Because assignment happens first. And only after assignment we increment y. Okay? In that case, y will be equal to 6, but x will be equal to 5. Okay? So they don't usually put tricks, and this is not done just to play tricks with the engineers or developers, because it allows to simplify the code. That's the main reason. But you have to be aware that we have two versions of that, pre-increment and post-increment. And depending where you place them, you may get different values for that. Okay? Y will be incremented in any way, but depending on where you make, where you place this increment operator, value of x will be different. Okay? Make sense? Okay, if you are not scary enough, let's move forward. We also have to support logic, because without supporting logic, no decision can be made by JavaScript, and JavaScript essentially cannot operate. Okay? JavaScript should have possibility to make logical decisions and then present results based on some conditions. In order to do that, we have to introduce logical operators which allow to compare, negate, and so on. This operator, two equal signs, this is again not the double assignment. This is an operator which consists of two equation signs, no space between them. It's essentially operated to validate if value of x equals value of y. Okay? And if, for example, both variables contain the same value, for example, value of 5, in that case, we'll get an answer true. Otherwise, that will be false. Okay? If we are looking for negation case, for example, if I'm looking for a situation when these two variables are not equal to each other, I can use this operator, negation operator, which consists of exclamation mark and equal sign. And in this case, if these two variables are not equal to each other, I'll get true. Otherwise, false if they are equal. Okay, depending what I like. We also have operator greater than or equal, logical AND, which allows us to combine two or more logical statements together, or operator and not operator, which is exclamation mark. So we are going to see them in examples, and we are going to do exercise together. So these are actually explanations what we already covered. We also have these statements, like for example, when we have statement like saying that new value of x equals old value of x plus y. This also may happen. But this is never written like this, because this is a long form. Short form is written like this. Basically, it's exactly the same, but more cryptic format. Okay? So it means that the new value of x equals old value plus value of y. And the same analogy with the division and so on. Okay? So, and then subtraction and so on. That's it. So manipulation with the variables, definitely we can create a script which can create actually three variables. I can assign a value to the variable 1 and variable 2, and then I use a plus operator to concatenate these two variables together as shown here. So in this case, the result string is not going to look like txt1 plus txt2, but something else. So what you can do, you can substitute your existing code. You can comment the old code and substitute old code with these 4 lines here. This line, this, and this. Okay? And then if you open in the browser, you should see some nice phrase. Let's move forward. Basically, this is an illustration of concept of how you can concatenate two strings or two variables together. Additional operations, basically the result depends, since we have overloaded our plus operator, the result depends on the operands. In this particular case, what expected result is? 10, because we have two numeric operands. This 5 and 5 are called operands, and they are numeric, and it's work in numeric context. And in numeric context, plus operator actually adds two numbers together, and then the result is definitely 10. What happens in this case? We got 55 because we are operating in a string context, and the string cannot be added. The ASCII code cannot be added. So basically, what we do, we have concatenate them. What happens in this case? Again 55, because one of the operands is a string, so it cannot operate in numeric context anymore, so it defaults back to the concatenation. Same here. Okay? What happens if I do the following? For example, I say 5 plus 5 plus 5. What happens in this case?
105.
We'll tell more. Okay.
105.
It's 105. Okay, because this operand is numeric, this is numeric, so it can, actually acts as the result will be as a numeric 10, but this one is a string context, so we actually concatenate them, so we'll get to 105. Okay. Yeah, they ask you this question quite often on the interview, actually. Okay. Okay, so this is essentially, we already covered this operator, equation operator. We're checking that if x equals or not to 8, and if x equals to 8, we'll get true, result is true. But also in this case, we have another very strange operator. This operator consists of 3 equation signs. Okay, it's called ExactEqual or strict equal. Essentially, it's not only checking the value, but it's also checking the type. Okay, for example, numeric or string context. Okay. So in this case, for example, if x equals to 5, but numeric 5, this will result as true, but this one will result in false, okay, because this is a string context and otherwise numeric context. Shows us something specific to JavaScript. Same with the not equal to or greater than equal. We have different, different situations we can use this operator, greater or equal 8 and so on. Logical operations are actually widely used, and without logical operations, you cannot ask JavaScript to perform any comparison or do any decision, take any decision. Okay, so barely, it's simply impossible to do. Okay, you cannot get interaction with without the logical statements. So next thing which we are going to do, we are going to see how we can implement JavaScript, knowledge of JavaScript, to make something more useful. Okay. So what happens is that the DMV observed over the time that a number of applicants who are applying for motorcycle class get very large, a relatively large number of negative results on the exams, okay, which actually results in a time and money loss for the applicants and also time loss for the DMV, okay, because people are coming and they are very confident that they can take the exam, but it turns out that they are not very well prepared for the questions. So what the DMV decided to do, they created kind of a virtual exam page where you can go and answer, say, 25 exam questions. They are not real exam, but very close to them. And then you can actually evaluate yourself, your knowledge yourself. Okay, so and then if you feel that you can beat the DMV, then you can go and do that. The only trick which they don't tell you is that if you, for example, someday you decide to go and take a motorcycle class exam, you also have to pass normal exam for a car, okay? And they don't tell you that, okay? But that's kind of a surprise for you. And then definitely you are not prepared. You know, well forgotten knowledge, right? How to answer the question. So that's a trick. So you may not pass it, but not because of the motorcycle, but because of the regular one. So, but other than that, they publish this website, and then you can go ahead and do that. For example, they would like to have questions look like this, and then for looking from a web design point of view, you see that it's relatively easy to do. What you need to do, you need just put this statement there, put BR tag here, and put radio, align them vertically. After each radio button, you actually put a BR tag, and name this radio button similarly, so there will be group of radio buttons, so end user can select only one radio button at a time. It's not a big deal. And then definitely you can create a push button, also that's element input, and then you assign value to button. The button will be created. You provide a caption, and that will be shown as this clear form. Okay. Then you can create 2 hyperlinks. It's also not a big deal. You can do that. The trick is that you can create all these 25 questions like this on one page, but doesn't matter how many times you click on these buttons, whatever, nothing would happen, okay? Because that would be pure HTML code, which is not interactive. In order to put some kind of a blow of life into this page, you have to put some interaction script behind that. And that will be, as you may assume, that will be JavaScript, which we are going to do, okay? So, and then JavaScript can react to your actions. For example, if you select M1 or class C, then you'll get an incorrect answer here, and then you may get a red stripe here shown, and so on. That can be done using JavaScript without DMV server being involved in that. Okay, that will be done exactly on your machine without even connecting or sending information to the server, because DMV server is completely uninteresting what you selected here, because this is not official exam. They don't care. This is exclusively for your usage. Okay, as such, they say, okay, let's create that in the JavaScript, and let's invite some developer, pay him some money, so ask him to create this. So where this person starts from? Okay, assume you are hired by DMV, and you definitely told them that I don't know JavaScript. Okay, but I said it's not a problem. You learn. Where you start from? Exactly, you start from requirements. Okay. You'd like to start from the document where all the requirements are placed in, and then what actually DMV likes from you, right? And where these requirements are. They're in the motorcycle handbook, right? If you go and open the motorcycle handbook, all requirements, all conditions are specified there. What you need to do is just look at that brochure from different angle. That's it, okay? But the information is there. Now, and then the correct answer is M2, but you should instruct HTML code, as we said, to make the decision by itself, okay, without asking the DMV and without connecting to other services. So this is actually a page from the motorcycle brochure, and this can serve as software requirements to our page, which we are going to develop. And imagine that you open that brochure, and then you read the following. So in order to get a motorcycle class M1 and M2 permits, you can also look what M1 and M2 stands for. You will need to be at least 15.5 years of age, so that's a requirement. You have to complete the application form DL44, which is actually consent of your parents or legal guardian for you to take the class. This DL44 valid if you are between 15.5 and 16. Over 16, if you are over 16, you don't need to bring that document, which is unfortunate, because I believe they will change, okay, with the time. They will change that, okay, because it's 15.5 is too young, okay, for taking water class. That's my opinion. Now, if you are under 21, you have to provide a completion certificate from the safety class. Okay, there are safety classes which are not associated with DMV. They are private classes. And what they do, they have a theoretical class for, I think, 1 day and 2 days of riding. Okay, basically, it's a very good class. They teach a lot of interesting, give you a lot of interesting information. And it's very highly advisable. What they don't tell you here either is that if you complete the class, this safety class, even if you are over 21, you will actually skip the driving test at the DMV. Okay, you only have to pass the oral exam. That's it. These are requirements, and then if you're over 21, you basically you may provide this motorcycle training class exam and schedule appointment and then take your exam, and if you are successful, you'll get a license. Okay, that's how it works. Essentially, it means that we have 3 very important milestones. I mean, in a sense of age. We have milestone 15.5 years of age, which is a cutting edge for the acceptance, right? So it means that doesn't matter how good you are, how big you are, how nice you drive the motorcycles, but you are not allowed to get take exam or get a license. If you are between 15.5 and 16, so 16 then the next milestone, then provided that you produce some paperwork, you can take the exam and you'll get this motorcycle class, which allows you to drive the motorcycle. And the next milestone is 21, which actually removes all limitations, all restrictions, and you are pretty much open. So basically we have these 3 milestones which we have to code in order to answer the question, and am I entitled or not? Because that probably will be the very first question on this question, the DMV question, right? Am I entitled or not? Because if you are not entitled, doesn't matter how good you pass an exam, right? You will not get a motorcycle license anyway. So we have to do that. We have to code this, and that's what we are going to do. So we are going to create an HTML page, assuming that we have HTML and whatever tags here, what is never necessary. Only script portion is shown, but you should have HTML elements there. So I created a script, and then I put this very first milestone, which is 16.5. Oh, sorry, no, that's not. I created a variable which I say student age and assigned to 16.5. Okay, it might be something else. It might be 20, whatever. The reason is that I created the student age, and in real life, this variable value should be provided by the end user. Okay, but I don't have that mechanism yet. I'm not implemented that. I didn't create the text field, whatever. So I cannot ask user to provide that value. So instead of that, I decided to provide my temporary value here directly into the code. This is not a very good coding style because this is a kind of a hard coded, and it's very difficult to change, and it has tendency actually to live in the code. But I don't have other choice because right at the moment when I start everything from scratch, I have to do that. I have to provide some way to specify student age. After that, I created 2 variables which I call txt1 and txt2. One is not nice, second is nice. Okay. And say not entitled and allowed. You may also declare them as a constant. And also I provided the comments here. See, I provided comments. And here I have the logic here, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that before going digging into the code. So essentially what happens here, so I have, assuming that I have asked user for an age. So say I ask him this question age. Okay, what's your age? And then he provided some value. Let's assume he provided some value, say value here, okay? Now, this value determines what's next, okay? Am I entitled or not? This is actually the very first basic questions before we can proceed further. You can consider it as a smoke test for this application, okay? So, and this, value should be compared with one milestone, right? There's a time milestone, which is 15.5, okay? Because that 15.5 is a magic number coming from DMV requirement. That may change, okay? If, for example, next governor may say, you know what, 15.5 is too low, let's put it 18, which is actually a very good idea. Then we have to recode it again, okay? But right now it's 15.5, and then we have to compare this value with 15.5. And the result of that comparison will determine, can I proceed further, or we have to shut up right at that moment, okay? Or forget about this, our dream, okay, getting motorcycle license. So this comparison is done logically, and it's done using this special keyword which is called if. Okay? If requires parentheses will be open, and the condition which I'm going to test will be placed within this parenthesis. So essentially, we have either yes or no answer, right? Here. if actually we execute the program, program may be executed on one of these two pathways. So this, but before going to the yes or no, I have to make a comparison here. I have to code this, whatever stands in the circle, okay? I'm saying if this value, whatever age, is greater or equal 15.5. This is my logical condition here. I coded actually the DMV requirement. Now this question which I ask in the parentheses can bring only one of two answers, either yes or no, but I don't have third answer, okay? I cannot say maybe, I'll think later, okay? No possibility, such possibilities. So either I get true or false, okay? Depending on the age which is user provided, okay? So, and assuming that the answer is, this is correct, the answer is positive, I can actually go this way, say yes way, this is actually going to here, and I can say document write something positive, right? Say come to DMV. Correct? Now, but if the comparison is negative, it means that the person is younger than 15.5. I also have to handle that situation, right? So it's also very important. I can say else. This is actually going this pathway. We have to code both pathways. We cannot only rely on the positive one, otherwise it does not make sense here, okay? Else, I can say this is a figural bracket here. I can say document, right? No way, okay? Or something like that, okay? Again, closing the figural bracket here. So that's how it works in a JavaScript or any other programming language. And that's how it is written here on this slide and is shown. So essentially, if it turns out, I mean, I change the logic. I say if student age is less than 15.5, then please print text1, which is not entitled. Otherwise, please press text2. So let's go ahead and execute this code and see if it's working or not. Yes?
Probably doesn't make any difference, but there are students age 16.5, and then it says 15.5.
Yeah, 15.5, this value is coming from DMV requirements. Okay? This is actually, we don't have any control over that. Yeah, go ahead and do that. That's perfectly okay, because this value which I just got from top of my head, okay? You can put it with 100 as well, okay? It's up to you. This value which I provided. It's called, author is Larry Ullman, JavaScript book, very good one which I can recommend if you're interested in. It's, okay, yeah. It's published actually this year. It's a very good one. One of the best books, I would say. And the title is Modern JavaScript for Development and Design. Modern JavaScript for Development and Design. Okay. Okay, this book I can recommend if you're interested in. It's a big one. I believe it's say 700 pages or so. Yeah, for JavaScript it's a lot. Okay. We actually completed the code and we rushed into the break, right? So, and many of you told me that this code is working. Basically, they see something on the screen, correct? Yes. Or no? Yes. Yes. Okay, it's working. Now, my next question is, can take you actually off guard, is this code good or not? No. Why so categorically no? Sorry?
It works. It works. It's basic. If you put it from numbers,
you cannot.
You Yeah, it's not versatile. It works in its own parameters, but you have to constantly change the parameters from the top.
That's okay. That's okay. But question is that you cannot answer that one because unless you tested it, right? So you should be able to test this code, and then only after that give me that answer, yes or no. Okay? So you just completed the coding, but you haven't tested it. Okay? So take as a habit, anything you create, doesn't matter, it will be JavaScript, HTML, Java, C++, whatever, you should test your code immediately. Because you'll face this situation many times, because you are going to write automation programs or scripts sooner or later. Probably that will be sooner, okay? And then in that case, that's a development. Small development, but nevertheless it's development. You should be able to immediately test your code which you wrote. And then only after that say, yeah, this code is good or not good, depending on the output. So can we test it now? Go ahead. The test results are okay, so that person actually can say that the code is good. What's your opinion? So remember, here what happens here is that you actually have to wear two hats at the same time, almost at the same time. First hat is a developer hat when we are going and creating this code, and then you have to make all efforts to make sure that this code is working, okay? After you have done, you have to swap your hat wearing QA hat. It says big QA letters on your hat, and as a QA you have completely different goals. What you have to do all efforts to say that this, whatever is written on the screen, is nothing but a crap. It's not working, okay? And you have to substantiate that. In order to do that, you have to test. You have to come up with the values to provide and test. So what values you provided here? Whatever you need to do, you need to specify student A, change this value. What values you provided there? 14. Did it work? So it means that it's actually working as is expected. What are the other values you provided?
16.
16, okay, that's boundary cases. What else?
Greater than 16.
Okay.
15.
1,000, 1 million?
Don't need to.
Why not? Minus, okay. What about minus? It worked with minus? So it means that code is not good, right? See, when you test the code, you can come up with an answer, not good or not good. But again, let's analyze these test results again and come to conclusion. Also, you can provide alphabetic values here instead of a numeric one. You can type 15 with the letters. Okay, you can put negative ones, zeros, 1,000s, and so on. Now, if you analyze these results from JavaScript point of view, 1,000 is a valid value. But from a normal human being point of view, it doesn't make any sense, right? So no one is living up to now until 1,000 years. I wish, but we didn't observe that. As such, it does not make any sense. So it means that a program behaves incorrectly, because if you provide value 1,000, then you get incorrect answers. You are entitled, okay? But it does not make any physical meaning. So what our verdict is in this case, we have to come up with a very single answer, good or not good, because we are QA engineers at that time. So what's the verdict? Sorry?
You can make it better.
But if we are a developer, right? Right now we are wearing QA hat. So what the verdict? It's not working? You're actually hesitating to mark it as a bad code, right? And we have reason for that. Because generally code is a good guy, okay? It's working, but there's some cases which actually very weird cases which it fails, okay? In reality, this code is working correctly. What we're lacking here, we're lacking the filter which will filter out input, okay? If, for example, we provide a code which says, filter out all values which is over than 100 and negative values, sorry, and so on, this code is going to be working, in working condition, okay? So provided, if you make that stipulation, saying, provided that we have correct input, this code is working, actually allows us to say that the code is working. It's good. What we did here we did actually unit testing. Okay, so what unit testing is, this is actually testing with the bare minimum amount of code. We cannot break down this code any further because otherwise logic will be disintegrated, right? This is minimum level of code we can work with, we can test. So what happens in reality, as soon as the developer creates this code, he actually adds a couple of test cases. Maybe for this code he may add 7 or 10 test cases, maybe 7 and a more realistic one, providing different inputs. And he makes sure that this unit test, the very first idea when he writes the very first unit test is, what's the idea of the unit test? When he writes unit test, the very first unit test case should fail. Okay? And the reason is that it's not actually mandatory, it's written somewhere in the books, because in order to make, the reason to make this first unit test cases fail, just to make sure that application report failures. Because if it turns out that application does not report failures for some reason, doesn't matter. You may write 1,000 test cases, but the value of these test cases will be 0 because error is not reported. So as a matter of fact, the very first test case, unit test case which you write, it should fail. Okay? So failing to make this first unit test case fails, you have to provide a value of 14 or 10. Okay, actually that's a very valuable approach. Okay, and then you have to be able to see the error message. Okay, so if you don't see that for some reason, it means that the unit test case is not good. And then you can add several unit test cases, and if all test cases passing, you are satisfied with the results, you can forget about this code, because what you may tell yourself and to the rest of the development team is that I have a code which actually makes a decision based on the user input age, and this code is working. And why it's working? Because I created unit test cases which are actually passing. At this level, at this atomic level, code is working. You may create maybe thousands of codes which is similar complexity code and similar size code. And then for each of these code, you write unit test cases. You may have battery of unit test cases, maybe a couple of thousand unit test cases. And every time some changes are made in a code, you can run this battery automated unit test cases. And if something is broken in a code, that defect is immediately detected. That's the beauty of it. Okay? So usually unit test cases are written by developers, not by QA engineers. But I've seen the cases when QA engineers are actually involved in that. Okay? It's a good practice. And if you have that on your resume, that definitely also a big plus. There are applications which allow you to write unit test cases for Java. It's JUnit. I haven't heard anything for JavaScript. And there are also similar applications for other languages. Okay, it's not very difficult to write, but it's definitely big value for your resume. Okay, now what we did actually, we did unit testing, and we guaranteed that this code is working and it's in working condition. Okay, so we can actually keep implementing the requirements, software requirements, as it was in the DMV handbook. Okay, any questions about this? No. Okay. So next requirement is, remember, we haven't implemented a situation when the user age is between 15.5 and 16. So actually next milestone. Okay. So if user is between 15.5 years of age and 16, he should come with the legal guardian, and they have to sign out that form DL44, which basically giving their consent to obtaining the motorcycle license to their kid. And that's how it is done. I modify the code, and I hard-coded this value. This 15.5 comes from the DMV requirement. Okay, this one is actually providing ourselves. Now, if it's less than 15.5, we don't need to do anything else but saying, sorry, you cannot take the classes, and that will be the end of the exam. Else, otherwise, if student age is greater than 15.5 and less than 16, then this situation happens. So you have to come up with the legal guardian. Other than that, go ahead and do whatever. You are free of taking the exam. Okay. So let's modify the code, and let's again test this, because we have to make sure that this code is working before we continue our development efforts. Is working? Positive. So basically we can forget about this code, for unit test cases, because we know that we have some piece of code which validates, actually will checks user age and then based on that age, it takes a decision. Okay, so and then if all unit test cases pass, then we make sure that code, at least on this level, is working. The next thing is just if we integrate this code with something else, we may break it, because this code might not talk adequately with that other code, but that will be integration problem. But at least on a unit level, this code is working, so we can guarantee we can actually keep building, keep adding more code into that. Okay, any questions?
Do we need to do negative too?
Yeah, definitely, because unit test case, I mean, you have to start with a negative test case, in the sense that you have to make unit test code fail. Now, the reason for that is not it's more difficult than positive one. The reason is that you have to be able to see that error, okay? Because if for some reason that error is not generated, then it means that there's no point of keep going, because that your framework is not working, right? You may have 1,000 test cases, but imagine if the error is not reported. Some of them may be failing, but you will not notice them, okay? So that's why the very first unit test case which you write should be negative, should produce the error message. If you're making that, it's okay. You say, okay, I can see error messages. You keep adding new unit test cases. Now, and then you also realize that the number of unit test cases for this code may be in a range of 10, 15, right? Because logicking is actually became more and more complicated. More complicated logic you have, more test cases, more actual values you have to test, which result in more unit test cases. Okay. So it's working. Okay. Next thing which I'm going to do is I'm going to complain, saying, you know what, this is actually maybe okay, maybe code is correct, everything is okay, but it's very inconvenient to test. It means that every time I like to create new unit test cases, I have to test new value, I have to go and modify the code. What I would like to do, I like to see the web page where I can have a text field, put some values there, and then web page will tell me that. Okay? So essentially, I'm going to add HTML elements here, so these values will be read from HTML elements and compared immediately. So essentially, life for Q engineers becomes should be more easier, than this one. Okay. So that's what I did. Actually, I created this HTML form, and then also I created a block of JavaScript which I call check eligibility, and that's pretty much it. So this is supposed to work. My idea is that it's working, and you're supposed to create this HTML page, put the code you have, and then see if it's working or not. Test it. And that will be next level. It will be integration testing, integration with HTML page, because you know that this portion, this part is working because we just tested it, right? So no doubt about that. So I'm going to create additional code and see how this code will work with the new one, okay? And something might be broken there, might be not. Okay, we are going to test that. We try to integrate the code which we created with the HTML code, and that something is broken in between. What is broken here is that the following. When you submit the form, because we have form here, right? We don't instruct the browser to submit the form, and we don't get the values from this form. So basically, this is not working code. So I'm going to modify that. I need to add this code here, which is written in red here. And also, I have to put this, string here, this code here. So what happens is that what this code does is that when we interact with the browser, we generate a lot of events, as I called it. So for example, every time I click on a mouse, it's an event. Every time I press a button on the keyboard, it's an event, okay? And every time I submit the form, that's an event generated, okay? So browser generates these events regardless we like it or not, okay? The other thing is that in some cases, we like to react accordingly. For example, in our particular case, I like to react in a case when the form is submitted. I don't care about when user types something or right mouse click on that. I don't care about these events, but I like to care about events when the form is submitted. And when the form is submitted, I'm saying every time you submit the form, please execute this JavaScript code. Okay? And that's what happens here. Event in this case is called onChange. Okay, when the form is changed, at that moment event is generated, and then also have to specify what should happen in the case when the form is changed. And I'm saying equal sign to check eligibility, and then this is my block of the JavaScript code. See that check eligibility here? And it means that every time form is submitted, this code is generated, is fired. So this code will be executed, okay? So we're not going to cover this portion for now, okay? Just use it as is. We're going to do that in a sec. But essentially I'll link the form event, what happens with the form, with the JavaScript code. Okay? In that case, I don't need to do any specific action. Every time I submit the form, then form itself should give me the answer. Is user eligible or not? And in this case, you should see the result. When you press Enter key, you're supposed to see the result. To be on a, to create, to generate valid HTML code, yeah, that should be done. Not working?
The first if condition, you haven't given a semicolon. So, yeah.
Let's have a look. I'm copying this code into the notepad. Okay, let's do it together. Okay. So document write. Check eligibility. That's okay. That's okay. So this is correct. So looks okay. And let's see, form 1. Yeah, that's okay. ID is form 1. For what?
For form.
It's here. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that should be, yeah. Yeah, angle, yeah, bracket for that. That's correct. So this should be working. So I'm going to save this and test it, right? Save as. I'm going to save as a C JavaScript. Okay, I save as a HTML file. See this one? Okay, if I type say 23, nothing happens.
We change text to the numbers in the text type file.
Let's see why something is wrong. Okay, maybe there's a problem in the code. So type text, this is correct. Check eligibility form. Okay, args value. Oh, that's correct. So this is correct. Let's see. So let's see. This. Let's see. Type text. Unchanged. Yeah. Check eligibility. This. Okay. Function check eligibility. It's correct. Args. H equals H. Oh yeah, because I have distorted double quotes here. That's why. So let's see. Double check if double quotes are fixed. Otherwise, it would not work. Okay. So this is. I think I corrected that. Let's test it again. Saying 23. Again, doesn't work. Okay. Blah blah content. Okay, it blocks me effectively from doing it. Why? Let's see if so let's see what I did wrong in this case. It's gone, right? Immediately. Okay. So this is, let's see if document right now restrictions.
in the same spot again.
Yeah, that's a trick. Actually, it's not permanent. Okay, so it's working, but the result is so quick we don't see it.
Do you have
what we see, document right, everything is correct. So I cannot take any courses. See, this is correct. Else, document right, no restrictions. Welcome. Something is missing here. I believe I've missed this one. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Wait a second. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. I believe it's this one is missing. Let's see. This is a restriction for else. And then if no, this is correct. This is correct. Okay. It doesn't work on my machine, but let's see if we can do it once more with a different browser.